Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hobart begins now.
Police are on the hunt for 2 intruders who restrained and forced the owners of the Kempton post office to hand over cash early this morning. Authorities are now appealing to members of the public for help in what's been labelled a violent and callous crime.
This charming post office, tucked away in the heart of Kempton, now the scene of a terrifying crime by 2 brazen intruders.
They demanded money and they used some force and they left with cash. And that cash was the takings of the local post office in what police are describing as a really callous crime.
Police say at around 4:30 this morning, 2 men wearing face coverings broke into the home of the owners, aged 60 and 74, right next door to their business.
They have used force to restrain them, to hold them in the room and to push them back onto a bed. So unfortunately, for us, that this is a crime which is violent, albeit a weapon wasn't used.
The husband and wife luckily sustained no injuries during the violent incident, but left shaken up as well as the rest of the town.
It will have a long-term impact, not only just on those 2 people, but also that local area in Kempton.
The 2 attackers, described as wearing grey clothing, believed to have fled the area by car.
And they've left driving what we believe to be an early model utility. It's possibly a Toyota Hilux with a canopy, and it may have been driving north.
Meanwhile, police are investigating a shooting incident at Gagebrook last night, saying a 16-year-old male sustained injuries.
Fortunately, his injuries are not life-threatening. However, police are obviously investigating to determine the actual cause of the incident.
Anyone with information about these incidents is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
A mechanics workshop at Bridgewater has sustained significant damage after a blaze tore through the building this afternoon. Crews arrived to the business on the corner of Letitia Grove and Hurst Street fully alight just before 1 o'clock. It's estimated around $100,000 worth of damage has been caused. Investigations into the incident are continuing. Meanwhile, the Tasmania Fire Service has advised members of the community not to be concerned by thick smoke currently billowing from a fuel reduction burn in South Hobart. The TFS says the fire will be approximately 31 hectares in size and could take up to 3 days to complete. The first batch of low-risk seasonal workers to be quarantined in Tasmania under an agreement with Victoria has arrived in the state. 56 of the 159 workers on board the flight from Vanuatu will be staying post-quarantine to work in Tasmania in a boost to the local workforce.
It's a good deal for Tasmania. These are low-risk jurisdictions and this is operating effectively for us.
Any workers Tasmania can get to help us get our fruit off trees, product off farms, is an advantage that Tasmania can't forego.
The Victorian Government has indefinitely suspended its hotel quarantine program, but says it will still facilitate the Mercy flights it was due to accept on Tasmania's behalf. The state government is calling on the Legislative Council to pass its controversial anti-protest laws. Primary Industries Minister Guy Barnett and industry leaders gathered today, saying the laws are designed to protect workplaces without infringing on freedom of speech.
Small businesses in certain areas, mining, agriculture, forestry, have been hit in the past. There's nothing saying that in the future that other small businesses will also be impacted.
We know that the government went to the election with this as a mandate. We know that the people of Tasmania support this legislation as well. Now, what's important here is that, again, Tasmanians have the right to protest in public spaces, but not in workplaces.
Labor says the bill risks making a criminal out of every Tasmanian and that the government is inviting a fight over forest protests in the lead-up to May's upper house elections. Hundreds have taken to the streets of Hobart, marching for action on climate change. The group of Extinction Rebellion protesters was led by women, calling on the government to declare a climate emergency in the state.
chanting their message loud and clear as they march through the streets of Hobart.
Stepping up and stepping out, the women of Hobart are raising their voices and taking to the streets to call on the government to declare a climate emergency.
Starting in the mall with speeches and music playing as the crowd grew, before walking down Liverpool Street led by a group of suffragettes.
We want to spread awareness about the effects of climate change and also draw attention to how they are disproportionately affecting women. This is very much an issue of climate justice.
The thing about COVID, it has shown us that global threats are global threats, and climate change is the truest and biggest of all global threats. We cannot escape it. Our children cannot escape it.
Hundreds of people are taking part in this protest today, police blocking streets in Hobart while they march towards Franklin Square.
The rally drawing the attention of passers-by. 17-year-old Maddie Townley says she hopes people are listening to their message.
We're the last generation that can do anything about it, and soon it'll be too late, so it's really important that people of my generation are speaking up for their futures. Meg
Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Duck Mofo is out for blood in its first major project announced for the upcoming festival. Spanish artist Santiago Sierra will immerse the British flag in blood and is calling for donations from First Nations people from territories around the world which were colonised by the British Empire. While the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre supports the artist bringing attention to the issue, it says too much Aboriginal blood has already been spilt.
The British flag does have the blood of our ancestors on it. I think when it comes to the practicality of it, there's probably other ways that we could symbolise the Aboriginal blood that's been spilt.
Dark Mofo's full program will be released early next month. 120 runners have taken part in the Tacania Trail Ultra Marathon in the northwest Tarkine region. Organisers at the Bob Brown Foundation took Forestry Tasmania to the Supreme Court after originally being told they couldn't host the event. Supporters have raised more than $165,000 to fund efforts to protect the area's World Heritage National Park status. Beer lovers have spent the day picking hops and polishing off a few cold ones as part of Van Diemen Brewing's annual Harvest Day event. Hop growers say they've had a good crop this season and things are looking up after demand for their products dropped last year.
There was something in the air this morning at White Hills.
Just coming out here, you could just smell the beer.
This group of beer lovers assembling to help pick hops for Van Diemen's upcoming brews, in return for a few drops made with last year's crop.
I guess it's like doing the hard work and picking it and then seeing that the reward is going to be a nice brew at the end. It's quite a satisfying feeling.
I'd have to say the volunteers are doing us a bigger favour than we're doing them. We're here for them to learn where beer comes from, understand what goes into a beer.
Never done it before, so it's very different and very interesting. Something that you don't think about, like the hops go into a lovely beer.
It's definitely a lot more sticky than I thought it would be, and you end up with cuts all over your hands, but it's a pretty fun experience.
Some of the workforce had come from as far away as Byron Bay.
We were here 3 years ago. We happened to be in Tassie and we stopped in, and we had a really good time then. So this time when we were planning a trip to Tassie, we kind of planned it around so we'd be here for hop picking season so we could visit again.
Today we'll see the entire hop crop harvested by the volunteer workforce.
We've had a bumper season. It's a beautiful year to be growing hops. They're absolutely dripping off the vines and stuff, and thankfully we've got enough people here to harvest them all.
A good result after a tough year.
Certainly from the hospitality side of things, the lack of tourists has certainly impacted us with flow through with people not visiting venues or restaurants or bars and bottle shops and things.
Thankfully for producers like Van Diemen, that market is starting to ripen once again. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
And the annual Tri-Series basketball competition has kicked off at the Kingborough Sports Centre with some additional pressure for the athletes competing. Tasmania Jack Jumpers head coach Scott Roth watching on from the sidelines.
We're going to be there to support them as they get older and go through that. We're going to work hand in hand with Chris and his group to make sure these kids feel like there is a pathway for them. Any young talent that's identified is really exciting for the whole state.
Basketball Tasmania says this year's competition has seen more teams than ever enter, hoping the introduction of the Tasmania Jack Jumpers into the NBL will help make basketball the #1 sport in the state. Real-time fuel price reporting has saved Tasmanian motorists more than $11 million in the past 6 months, according to the RACT. It says fuel prices have dramatically dropped since the scheme was introduced in September.
Really impacts everybody's back pocket. So the savings that people make in fuel directly come back to the Tasmanian economy and are spent elsewhere. So it's a win-win for motorists and a win-win for Tasmanian overall.
The peak motoring body says it's evidence the state government should continue to fund the initiative into the future. Around 1,000 people are preparing to walk through the night in Hobart for 2021's Relay for Life. In Tasmania, more than 9 people are diagnosed with cancer each day. Those taking part in the fundraising event have already exceeded their goal of $200,000, aiming to help reduce the impact of cancer across the community. The relay will finish with a closing ceremony at 9 tomorrow morning. The Devils will go into round 1 of the NAB League full of confidence after beating North Launceston in a practice game at UTAS Stadium today. The Bombers started brightly with Zach Burt kicking 2 in the first quarter. However, the young Devils side hit back in a seesawing contest, eventually defeating last year's TSL finalist by a goal. Tasmania has battled through a tough opening day in their Crunch-Sheffield Shield clash with New South Wales. Sent into bat at Blunston Arena, the Tigers suffered an early blow when they lost Jordan Silk. Matthew Wade made a brave half-century with 57 runs, while Tim Payne made 61 not out. Consistent wickets fell throughout the innings though, as Blues bowler Mitchell Stark picked up 3 himself. The Tigers finished the day on 7 for 258.
Good evening. A mostly sunny day apart from some cloud about the north and east today. Launceston and Hobart 23 degrees, 21 in both Burnie and Devonport. 24 today at Bushy Park, Strawn, the Friendly Beaches and Smithton 22, 21 on King, Flinders and Maria Islands, also at St Helens, Lowhead and the Harts Mountains 20 and Lyweenie 16. Here we see low cloud about the north and east and mostly clear skies elsewhere. A low pressure trough is producing heavy rain through eastern New South Wales. There is a vast area of convective cloud covering central, northern and eastern Australia with active showers and thunderstorms. A middle level cloud band extends from the northwest of the country over central parts, and low cloud extends over Tasmania's north in an onshore stream. Tomorrow there is little change, with the high remaining over the Tasman Sea and troughs persisting across western, central and eastern Australia. East to northeasterly winds 15 to 25 knots, reaching 20 to 30 knots about the northwest, and variable 5 to 15 knots in the west. Seas 1 to 3 metres. A strong wind warning tomorrow from Sandy Cape to Stanley. Partly cloudy conditions in the south of the state, 23 in Hobart, 24 at Richmond and Ooze 26. Partly cloudy in the north, Launceston 25, 23 in Devonport and Deloraine. Burnie, partly cloudy, 22. Sunny at Strawn, 23. Partly cloudy and becoming windy at Curry, 21. A shower or two at St Helens, 20 degrees. 20 degrees also at Swansea, a possible shower there. And Whitemark, partly cloudy, 22. The UV is high tomorrow and sunset will be at 7:23 p.m. Looking ahead to Monday now, showers about the northeast and east, extending across the north during the day, fine otherwise. Tuesday, showers extending statewide during the day, and morning rain about the northeast, showers elsewhere on Wednesday. On the mainland, a sunny day in Perth, 36, partly cloudy in Adelaide, 29, Canberra, 19 with showers, showers for Sydney, 22, and Melbourne, a shower or two, 23 degrees. And right now in Hobart, it's 19 and mostly sunny. Launceston 21 and sunny. Devonport 18, mostly sunny. And apart from a sunny day at Strawn, it's looking like a partly cloudy sky for much of the state tomorrow, Lou.
We've had a good run, I suppose. Thanks for that, Carmen. That's all your news for this Saturday night. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Good night.